First, I want to thank Deepak and Jason to invite me here. It took me about a direct flight of 15 hours to reach here. Short time, but I enjoyed the flight with my family. I also want to compliment Paul and Deepak of what they said. I haven't worked in water, but I've worked in power industry and telecom industry. And these utilities were stress tested during last 3 years of COVID. And let me tell you, they came out very, very sexy, very good. They came out so well. They didn't have breakdowns, they didn't have any outages, they worked day and night. And I absolutely agree with Paul and Deepak that these utilities should get that, what Tesla gets and all that. Actually, they're doing a bigger job, much bigger job, much better job. But there is a realization. I feel the customers are falling in love again with these utilities since last 3 years because the customers understand how important they are. This session is very important, especially because it is being held along with COP27 in Egypt, because COP27 is about sustainability, and this is about sustainability. I today thought I will focus on Asia Pacific, because you think more of North America. I live in Asia Pacific, so I think more about Asia Pacific. Asia Pacific, by the way, has 48 countries, and it has a population of 4.7 billion people, the biggest continent in the world. And therefore, the problems of Asia Pacific and the opportunities I thought I'll share with you. I have just 15 minutes, so I'll go through it fast. So that is my theme, because we have nearly 5 billion, so we need to ensure sustainability of those 5 billion. Now, I think the economic growth of China has been stunning. And the economic growth of India in the next decade will be stunning, because India is already number 5 in the world in terms of GDP. Now it's going toward number 3 in the world after US and China. And I think both these engines, the double engine of China and India, are taking Asia Pacific to big glory of bigger GDP per capita, which is very good. But we'll also look at the side effects of all this. Now, this economic growth, stability, shared prosperity, etc., actually is good and bad. It's good because people have better lifestyles, better standards of living, but it's bad because it does leave some side effects which are avoidable, and I'll talk about them. And I think those burdens of environment we need to be very careful about. And that's what I think Paul talked about for California, and I'm talking about for Asia Pacific. Now, Asia is profoundly impacted by some of these impacts. You'll be surprised, 40% of arable land in China and India are being degraded due to climate change. And by the way, these two countries have 2.8 billion population together. And with so much land not being able to use in future, I think there is a problem. On social front, many people lack access to healthcare, water, sanitation, etc., which needs to be done. 80% of Asia's population lives in countries where inequality has risen, which is really surprising. And the growing burden of non-communicable diseases eroding the gains. So it's very important that these are the issues which are handled by us along with economic growth. Because otherwise, economic growth will come with a lot of negative side effects. So Asian businesses, and I'm including SEW in the Asian business because it's growing in Asia, will play a critical role in sustainability of the future. And therefore, I think Asian businesses have to really work hard in placing sustainability, climate change countermeasures as top of the agenda. And that's what I think many of them are already doing, and you will see how. The business pioneers are already using these models, many of them, and luckily the culture of Asia, India and China and many other countries already supports sustainability. We support sustainability culturally, but When we build large factories, power plants, this, that, I think somewhere the culture slips. Somewhere sustainability slips. And therefore, the big action in Asia is about renewable energy, both solar and wind. India, and I'll talk about that later, India is planning 500 gigawatt of solar and wind energy by 2030. 500 gigawatt. Already done 200 gigawatt. And I've contributed personally 7 gigawatt out of that. Small contribution. Leadership in EV market. No choice. We cannot have IC engine vehicles in Asia Pacific or the world. Similarly, we need leadership. In China, we have companies like BYD and many others who are doing a fantastic job. In India, we have SoftBank funded a company called Ola Electric. Maybe the largest EV producer in the world, but affordable EV. Affordable two-wheeler. They're already doing an EV two-wheeler, 2,000 a day. They're doing now, planning to do EV three-wheeler very soon, and then EV four-wheeler by 24. Not like Tesla. Deepak loves Tesla, I know that. so not like Tesla, but affordable EV. Not expensive, not for the upper end of the market. LED lighting, Paul talked about efficiency. Very critical. We cannot waste power. We produce power with so much thermal energy, thermal coal, etc., and then we waste it. We can't tolerate that. So LED has brought in huge revolution. And of course, quite revolution of foods and agriculture. These are the actions being taken by us. So these are the 6 pillars of sustainable development in Asia Pacific, which I'll talk about very briefly. Cities, all the reshaping of urban housing, sanitation, and mobility systems is happening now. You'll be surprised, there's the biggest actions being taken. For example, in India, we're building 40 kilometers of highways a day. We are building so many metros in every city. So much change is happening now. Improving design and construction of houses to reduce the cost and reduce the energy usage. Very, very important. Penetration and massification of electrification along with shared transport. Sharing is much more important now compared to ever in the past. And I'm very happy that our children are actually used to sharing. You know, they may be TikTok children, but still they're used to sharing. And improving the public and social infrastructure for efficiency. Now, in India, LED was taken up in a big passion. Even the Prime Minister talked about it. And billions of inefficient lighting got changed to LED. Billions and billions. I can't tell you, this project was one of the biggest projects in the country. RP? Fantastic success.
It's covered almost 80% of the Indian lighting system.
Yes. And it is basically bringing in efficiency and no wastage. Now, renewable and battery technology is at the cornerstone. Everywhere in Asia Pacific, this is being taken very seriously. Solar, wind, offshore wind, onshore wind is being taken very seriously. The coal gradually moving back. And primarily Asia is about coal. 70% of India, 70% of, I think, China also is about thermal energy. And that is really not sustainable for next generation. So wind and solar will be the big one. And again, I've already said India has done so much of, and India will do much more of up to 500 gigawatt in the next 8 years. Agriculture. If to feed 4.7 billion people, you need agriculture, you need food. By the way, India, after feeding 1.4 billion people, we export rice, sugar, wheat, and many others. So which means agriculture is good. But still, there's so much wastage in the food supply chain. There's so much shortage of processed food activity that wastage really is huge. I mean, you can see the number. There's a wastage of so many $1 billion of food, which actually is bad for sustainability. And if you talk about various natural resources, productivity improvements, and of course new technologies, including fertilizers, soil regeneration, etc., which is being done. which is so important. Today, after Ukraine, we are in a food crisis. So I think that food crisis only go if this gets right. I mean, inflation of 10% in US is shocking. And primarily, this is food inflation. Across the world, there's so much inflation. Primarily is the food inflation. And if we don't get this right, that won't go away. Health, really very high cost of hospitalization and insurance for the region. So a lot of action is being taken in this. The elderly population of Asia by 2050 will be about 1 billion people. So we need to take care of them and give them affordable healthcare focus. And shifting to inclusive, affordable healthcare models, and there are many models which have come up. For example, in insurance, we have a company called Policy Bazaar in India, which is a SoftBank funded company, gives you affordability. Gives you at $5 a $1,300,000 insurance at $5 a month. So there are many models coming up. And of course, public-private community insurance coming up very well. Water, acute problem, serious problem. And water security will be the biggest issue of the wars coming up in the next 50 years. Water security, because countries will fight each other for water, not for any other thing. So hence, this is critical for us to get right. Encourage investment. We are encouraging more investments, encouraging no wastage. And what Deepak and his team are doing a fantastic job on helping reduce wastage, helping the right billing, helping the right customer care, etc. of water. And I feel that this has to be number one, if not maybe power is number one, this is number two priority for Asia Pacific. Climate. Now, changing the energy mix is, as I said, the number one priority which is happening. Improving efficiency through innovations in urban residential, because urbanization is going to be big. From 60-70% of population living in rural, 60-70% of population will live in urban in the next 10-20 years. So all that efficiency in urban areas, residential areas, commercial, industrial areas has to come in. Otherwise, this will lead to more wastage and more non-sustainability. And transition to a low-carbon economy. Every company, every government is announcing goals. Goals are still short. I mean, you will see the conclusion of COP27 very soon. The goals are still short. You need to do much more. Need to plant many more trees along with power and water conservation. And a lot of governments have to invest more money in these areas. One example I wanted to give on healthcare, India not only vaccinated 2 billion people, 2 billion vaccinations in 18 months, but also exported to so many countries, 98 countries, the vaccination. So healthcare affordability, because it was affordable. It was not very expensive like many other Western vaccinations. So affordability of healthcare is critical for Asia Pacific. And I'm sure for Latin America, and I'm sure for Africa. Sorry, you can't read this, so I won't bore you with this. Basically, it's about digitization. How Asia is leveraging digitization. And India is a great example where a digital stack has been built for the entire nation. Where, for example, on fintech, we're using 40% of the global financial transactions on digital. Now, the opportunities may vary country by country in Asia, but I think they are quite similar for sustainability. Now, let me share with you the 4 sustainability sectors have an opportunity of $5 trillion by 2030. And these are energy, cities, food, and healthcare. Huge opportunity. So I'm just trying to say that sustainability is business. Sustainability is profits. Sustainability is not for NGOs. Sustainability is for me and you, all business people. This is the example, $5 trillion worth new business available for these four verticals in Asia Pacific. Of course, energy vertical is the biggest, if you see. This is the biggest. And 230 million jobs to be created in the same four verticals. So employment is important. And frankly, if the business does not choose to embrace sustainability, it will lead to a lot of harm. A lot of harm to our future generations. And I believe that what Paul is doing, what Deepak is doing here, is a fantastic example in California that you can do it. You can make money, and you can also do sustainability for your next generations. And it's very important for us to do both of them, because yes, we need to be viable and profitable, but at the same time, we cannot do anything to harm the interest of my children, my grandchildren, etc., etc. And by the way, I have a grandchild, so I know her future, her good life is important to me, and should be important to all of you. So that's all I wanted to share today. Thank you for inviting me.